Hey guys, it's Crossroads here. Today I wanted to talk to you about SoFi. Now, I know earnings is coming up on this next week on April 29th before the market opens. We're going to do an earnings prediction tonight or retroactively. It's on Friday if you're watching this a little bit later. And so we're going to cover that there. I'm not going to make a separate video on earnings predictions other than just saying it's going to be typical for SoFi. They're going to do really well. They're going to beat their projections and they'll probably even raise guidance as well. But what I wanted to talk to you about is that $25 price target that I put on SoFi back in December. Now, we were in different macroeconomic times. Things were a lot more sound. The Trump tariff policies and uncertainty regarding that has impacted the market. It's also impacted businesses in real ways as well. But I still think that SoFi is likely to hit that 25 as long as things don't fall completely apart with tariff talks and continued uncertainty through the end of the year. There's three reasons why, and I wanted to just kind of showcase that today. And we'll see one of these certainly showcased during earnings, probably a mention of another one as well. So what am I talking about? Well, first, this is last week's news, but it's highly significant. SoFi secures a $3.2 billion expansion to loan platform business across agreements with Fortress and Edge Focus. Now, I've done a separate video on this, but it's worth mentioning again. The loan platform did not exist for SoFi a year ago. It didn't. And you can see that it's absolutely ramping very quickly. But the best thing about this headline, beyond the 3.2 billion, and no, that's not revenue that they get, but they get about 4.25% or so from it based on previous take rates. This is free money for SoFi. They are not capital constrained on it. There's no risk of default or repayment. It doesn't even go on their balance sheet. It just goes to the Fortress in this case, and an Edge Focus as well. Now, there's a couple of pieces there, a couple of different types of loans. Look at that earlier video, and you can get a full breakdown of that. But in essence, this is absolutely going to ramp their financial services. And it is considered financial services, even though it's lending. That's just kind of the way it falls and breaks for SoFi. This also indicated that there is a lot of demand despite macro uncertainty for loans, even before rate cuts. Now, the question is this just front running before rate cuts? And that's why we see so much demand? That's a possibility. It sure could be. However, I think that we're going to actually see demand at least increase for a while as a lot of people are looking to get personal loans, to refinance, to take care of debts at the business level and also at an individual level as well. For SoFi, it's just individuals. Beyond that, so we're going to see a lot of acceleration in this. They'll announce and they'll show the numbers, of course, on Tuesday. But I expect that this is not going to be the last of the announcements we see on this for this year. Now, the second reason why I think that SoFi is going to do quite well is the markets are forward-looking. Usually, sometimes they get so focused on a macroeconomic thing like the tariffs that they just are like, you know what, we don't care about the future. There is no future. It's over. But markets can be silly, and that's our opportunity. This is relatively new for SoFi. Now, this is job openings on the engineering side. You can go on their webpage. There are places where you can break down and you can see it a little bit more cleanly. But look at all these places, things for crypto. 4 locations for front-end web engineer, senior engineering director, senior engineering manager, senior principal software engineer crypto, senior software engineer crypto, software engineer crypto, staff software engineer crypto. There is a lot, and even on some of these as well, not on the engineering side, but under the other tabs, those tend to be towards crypto as well, but we will go in there. Why is this such a big deal? Well, it should be of no surprise to you. We, again, have a separate video on this as well on the cryptocurrency platform for SoFi. Now, if you're newer in SoFi, you may say, wait a minute, what is this? Well, prior to SoFi actually having a bank charter, they had a cryptocurrency platform, which was on their Invest platform. And as part of a concession to get that banking license, they had to divest from crypto. Thankfully, those regulations are going away, and there's been several players, the OCC, some from the SEC. There still needs to be some clarity from a couple of different organizations. There's at least 3, maybe 4 as well. I think that SoFi doesn't have a green light. I know that a lot of people will argue against me on this, but think about it from the business perspective. It's been a while since SoFi has had their crypto platform. They still have the code. There's things to update. Would they need a team? So first, is SoFi going to wait until they have the full green light when they know that it's a question of when, not if at this point, that they'll be able to redeploy their crypto platform? No, they want to be ready for that moment when they have 100% clarity and they can know that they have the green light. They want to launch then. They don't want to say, okay, great, we'll hire some folks, we'll get our code brushed up, and then we'll launch. That would be chaotic. That's not the way Anthony Noto works. That's not the way this team works either. You also have to think about that SoFi is not the fastest as far as it relates to deploying new platforms or redeploying platform in this case and new technology. It takes them a little while, especially with new hires to get on board. So this is them saying, okay, we're at the start line and they're saying start your engines, and that's what SoFi is doing, that they're ready to deploy this. But with the number of positions here, to me, this indicates that they're not just simply going to say, okay, we're going to refresh the code, we're going to maybe market a little bit, and that's it. Look at the way that Anthony Noto talks about the cryptocurrency and the crypto platform as well. In the past, especially before they had the banking charter, he is a big crypto guy. SoFi was a big player in crypto. Now, are there things that they could have done better at the time? Absolutely. But what this is showing me is that they are not just releasing the same old platform. They're likely building out a lot of other products to go on top of it and a lot of other capability as well. They would not be hiring like this otherwise. Time will tell, but once that is launched, because markets are forward looking, and yes, it'll take time for revenue to ramp, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement in SoFi, which will help propel the stock to a higher level. Now, the third reason why I think that SoFi is likely to hit 25, again, depending on macro, if things are uncertain all the way through the year, don't bank on it. But I still think it's likely. I still think it's undervalued here, despite a pretty good week. This news. Now, this is not news that makes me super happy. This is not news that I'm like, yeah, that's awesome that people are going to default. But we had a headline earlier this week that indicated that the Trump administration, the government, is resuming collections on defaulted student loans. Student loans are one of those types of debt that do not go away in bankruptcy. And so as a result, there's a lot of people that were actually in default prior to COVID that had relief because everything was on pause, and rightfully so. It should have been at the time. That was, by the way, SoFi's main business. So they're very impacted by that. And they're holding on to a lot of those loans as well. But they are resuming collections. Now, what does this look like? Well, first, we can see here, zoom in a bit. It affects 5.3 million, although at different times and at different ways, depending on the type of loan, how in debt they are as well, and how behind they are. So a borrower is considered in default if they've missed payment for at least 270 days. And these 5.3 million have prior to COVID. So they note also here that even more borrowers are delinquent on their payments and may be headed towards default. That's 2.9 million borrowers are 61 to 90 days late. So they don't fall in this window right here, but that's over 8 million people. Another 4 million are in late stage delinquency, have been reported to credit bureaus, and are quickly approaching default. So there's a lot of people this affects. This may cause some impact as far as it relates to macro. We'll have to see what happens. This is not great for the economy either, or great for individuals. So I hate that people are going through this, but it was kind of inevitable. The writing was on the wall. Now, we've not seen a lot of acceleration in SoFi's student loan business, a little bit, but not a lot. And you may know this or may not, but my prior position was training folks at a large university where we handled students. And there were two types of students. There were those that would, the moment things were available and open, such as registration, they would register right then. But most students are not like that. And most people that graduate are also not like that as well. They wait until the last possible minute, not even when repayments begin, but like when the consequences are actually dire. Now, with things being in default, if that actually hits, it depends on the individual, but you can see it right here. They can seize up to 15% of a borrower's disposable income. Now, that's later in the summer as far as wage garnishment. That can also hit Social Security. I hope there's not many that are relying on Social Security for income that have student loan debt still, but there are sadly going to be some. And so there's a lot of people, and here it is. It's totally reasonable that people would be scared and confused and overwhelmed by the prospect of paying hundreds or thousands of dollars a month that they don't have. And that's a challenging thing. Now, why is this so good for SoFi? Well, a couple of reasons. One is that students will begin to repay their student loans. that perhaps were waiting until the last minute and they're like, okay, clearly there's no loan forgiveness coming. It wasn't mentioned by any candidate, by the way, whether it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump during the election. So it was very unlikely that it was going to happen, period. But here we are, and we can see that there's real consequences that are actually going to hit folks. Now, hopefully, a lot of people are actually saying, okay, I'm going to get serious about this. They have income that perhaps they've been using for other things that they can use for this. But there's going to be some folks that are in a tight spot that say, okay, I've got like, I remember when I graduated from college, I had 2 different student loans. Don't remember why it was that way, but that's the way it was. I repaid one. I didn't even know about the other, and it hit me like 6 or 12 months later. And I'm like, oh man, thankfully it was a small amount. I had some good scholarships. But for a lot of people, they have several different loans. And rather than be in default, what can happen is that they can actually refinance their loan. They can go to somebody like SoFi and say, okay, this is my situation, and I want to refinance my loans. Now, oftentimes that's going to be at a little bit higher rate, but it will also reconsolidate their loans and bring them out of default. If you're in this situation, by the way, double check things. Don't take my word for it. It may be different in your situation, in your state. There's a lot of other resources, even at the federal level and state level too. So check into that. But for SoFi themselves, they're going to get a lot of tailwinds from this over this summer. Now, the revenue may not hit much in Q3, but I think that we'll really start to see that ramp in Q4, especially if rates fall some. So refinancing won't be at such a high rate. But regardless, I think that we're going to see some tailwinds, and it's for a sad reason. Now, SoFi does have work to do on this. If you go and you search for them, by the way, you can find and you can see that, for me, since I'm a SoFi customer, in incognito mode, it didn't pick it up. And when I searched for student loan default, it pulled up SoFi immediately. It did when I was in incognito mode with a couple of searches. One of the things that you navigate to is this page. It talks about student loan debt, what the different type of loans are, about loan forgiveness in the state thereof, about ways to apply or handle loan repayment. They don't have anything here on default. And if anyone is watching from SoFi, you need to add something about that, because a lot of people will be Googling and finding your company. Now, to take things back to COVID, before COVID, there were a lot more companies that were involved in student loans. Some large players like Discover got out of the business. And so SoFi was already a mammoth in this industry. Now they have an even larger position. It's the same as what happened with Coinbase during the previous crypto winter, when a lot of their competitors just folded and gave up. And all of a sudden it was summertime for crypto again. They've done quite well as a business. SoFi will do as well. This was their bread and butter. They handle this product very, very well. So those are the 3 big tailwinds that I see for SoFi, beyond some other smaller ones that we've talked about in the past. The loan platform business, they're absolutely killing it. They're doing very, very well. The crypto platform is going to excite a lot of people, and I think it might get the attention of the markets. And of course, they'll have in the later second half of the year, they will see some acceleration, and actually quite a bit by Q4 for student loans, as people are getting notifications that they're in default and that they're subject to having their wages or Social Security income garnished. Nobody wants to be in that situation. They'll look for options, and SoFi is one of those options. Now, lastly, again, no guarantees we get to 25. Don't risk money that you don't have. Always have a long-term plan. I did buy SoFi for the first time in a little while last week, just because the loan platform business came out. It was undervalued. And I'm like, I need more SoFi. I have a lot, but I could use a little bit more, because I see the direction this company is going. If they don't get to $25, and it could be that they fall short, I don't think it's going to be because the company has stumbled along the way. They are very, very well positioned for this year. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. Are there other significant tailwinds that I'm missing? What are you most looking forward to seeing in the Q2 earnings? Or rather Q1 earnings in that case. We're not at Q2 yet. We're just in the middle of it. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Until next time, happy investing.